A week ago, Chrono Odyssey kicked off its beta test, and it was a pretty rough time for the game. Chrono Odyssey is supposed to be this next-gen MMORPG, and a lot of people had been looking forward to it, but it turns out it might be just another pretty face. But before we get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Albion Online. If you're looking for an MMO where you define the journey, Albion Online needs to be on your radar. In Albion, there are no forced quests, just a massive sandbox world where your choices matter. Be a farmer, a trader, a PvE raider, or dive into full loot PvP. And with over 1 million monthly players, the economy, the cities, the wars, it's all driven by real people. The combat's gear-based too, so you don't have any classes. You just pick your weapon and then change your role whenever you want. No more picking a class at the beginning and then being pigeonholed into a specific playstyle until the end of time. And with the new Abyssal Depths update, jumping into PvP is easier than ever. These city-based dungeons feature partial loot. You only risk what you find inside, and they collapse over time, forcing you to fight or escape with your rewards. And speaking of rewards, you'll score exclusive mounts, a cape vanity skin, and hell-themed avatar and an avatar ring. For me, this is the thing I'm looking forward to. When it came to Albion, I loved everything about it, but the forced full loot PvP was simply a deal breaker for me. But now with the Abyssal Depths update, I can go in and play and enjoy without having to worry about losing everything that I take into the combat zone. So give Albion a shot today for free using the link below and start forging your legacy today. After diving deep into closed beta, rounding up what others have been saying, and jotting down my own notes, I'm going to take away and break down what works, what doesn't, and what you guys should expect moving forward. All right, so for those of you outside of the loop, let me go ahead and break down what Chrono Odyssey is really quick. This is an action MMO developed by nPixel and published by Cacao Games. It runs on Unreal Engine 5, and it aims to deliver, quote, dynamic combat, time manipulation mechanics, and massive world events. It's set in a richly detailed world of Cetera. Players choose from 6 different classes and can switch weapons on the fly, opening up some, quote, unique builds and strategies. Now, the beta itself ran from June 20th to June 23rd, which is a weekend. Players from North America, Europe, Asia all jumped into the game. It peaked at 65,000 concurrent players on Steam. But let me tell you guys, it was not all roses. This test faced several issues. Long login queues, performance drops, server-wide lag were absolutely brutal. I suffered from that the entire time. And Cacao acknowledged these problems. They said the build was several months old, and that feedback from this would directly shape upcoming patches. So let's talk about what was actually enjoyable with the game, the positives, right? As with any sort of, I'll say, Eastern MMO, they typically put a lot of time and effort into the character creators. And Chrono Odyssey is not any sort of different. The character creator's top tier, tons of customization options. You can really kind of dial in what you're looking for. The lore in the story is actually pretty intriguing. I like the time manipulation angle. I feel like that's something pretty cool, but it's another thing that I don't think is fully fleshed out, or at least we haven't seen it fully fleshed out. Crafting and loot progression also earned praise from other folks. This is a Reddit community, Steam community. People really seem to like the crafting and the loot system. Players love the randomized item stats, the crafting options, talking about meaningful kind of long-term progression built in there. For me personally, it felt a lot like what you'd see in RuneScape or New World, where you kind of have this sort of wide swath of different crafting things you could do and a lot of depth there. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But next, I want to talk about some of the stuff that's pretty rough, things that I ran into, as well as what others are saying. Performance, brutal. Major concern. My rig, I'm not going to say it's the tippity top of the iceberg, but it can run everything, and it was struggling a little bit. Lag, so much lag. Hitboxes were off. You'd shoot an arrow and it'd be like you couldn't hit it unless you aimed a little bit to the left or to the right of what you're actually trying to hit. The camera worked against you. There was UI issues, unclear tutorials. Let me double down on that one. It was really difficult to figure out what I needed to do in order to find kind of like your base level, like crafting things, your tools, things like pickaxes. Unless you went and talked to every single person with a little icon above their head, which were pretty small, by the way, then you were sort of lost. So it really didn't flow very well. There wasn't a lot of onboarding that was tied into this thing. Broken animations also hurt immersion. Really just it just felt like it was entirely, completely unpolished, like just very janky. Combat felt flashy, but there was no responsiveness. There was no weight behind things. And then pacing itself is just clunky. Combat was clunky. It wasn't enjoyable. So overall, guys, reactions have been mixed. Some people praise the ambition and the visuals. They said, hey, this looks, like an unfinished MMO. This is early on. Apparently one Reddit user had called it a janky mess with potential. Somebody had sent me that, which I really enjoyed. But me, my own personal opinion is, guys, this is a much less polished, undercooked vanilla New World. And I mean much less polished. Very undercooked. The game has promise. I can see the vision of where they want to take it, but unless they delay it by a full year, I don't think it's going to get there. There's so many little quality of life things that are missing. So leveling up crafting, what does that get you besides new recipes? Do you get something different? In New World, you can click into each trade skill and you can see kind of a visual of, okay, if I get to this milestone, I can start crafting or unlocking this thing or gathering this thing. Chrono Odyssey doesn't have any of that. Combat, brutal. The one thing that they really showed off, it just didn't work well. The crafting, I like the kind of the width of it, but as I always like to say, it has the width of a lake, but the depth of a puddle, and it's just brutal to try to interact with. So what comes next? I don't want to sit here and rag on this game 24/7, but what they showed us versus what we actually got to see were vastly different. So Chrono Odyssey could potentially evolve into something worthwhile, but again, it's not there yet. It needs months of polish. The devs need to focus on optimization, combat refinement, UI fixes, onboarding, tutorials. And if they manage to kind of clear out every single thing that the Reddit community, the Steam community, and what I've seen, the game could be something that is worth playing. So I'm curious from you guys, if you played the beta, drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to see what you guys are thinking, what you guys thought about it. If you want more deep dives like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I plan on doing more of this type of stuff. So let me know what you guys think. As always, this has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.